Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a simple question. What's driving you? Is it just a paycheck, a title, a number in a bank account, or is it something deeper? Something that wakes you up in the morning with fire in your gut and clarity in your heart. That, my friends, is purpose. And when your goals align with that purpose, you don't just become productive, you become powerful. You don't just work harder, you work with precision, passion, and unshakable energy. That's the purpose effect. The greatest achievers in life are not just goal setters. They are meaning seekers. They've learned how to connect what they do with why it matters. And once you do that, once your goals reflect your values, your mission, your calling, you unlock a force that turns discipline into desire and effort into fulfillment. That's how you create maximum impact, not just in the world, but in your own life. Before you set another goal, chase another deadline, or climb another rung of the ladder, you must first ask yourself a foundational question. What is this really for? Without clarity of purpose, you're just busy. And being busy is not the same as being effective. You can sprint in the wrong direction and still end up lost. But when your purpose is clear, every action becomes intentional. You stop wasting time and you start making impact. Clarity of purpose begins with self-awareness. It's the process of understanding what truly drives you, not just what excites you in the short term, but what fulfills you in the long run. It's about asking, what matters most to me? What do I want my life to stand for? What kind of legacy do I want to leave? The answers won't always come easily, but the questions themselves are powerful. They force you to go deeper than goals and uncover the foundation underneath them. Many people live reactively, chasing goals that were handed to them by society, by family, by trends. They pursue careers they never chose, follow routines they never questioned, and wake up years later wondering why they still feel empty. That's what happens when your goals aren't tied to purpose. You might achieve something impressive on the outside, but inside it feels hollow. Clarity eliminates that disconnect. It aligns your goals with your soul. Purpose is not something you stumble upon by accident. It's something you uncover through reflection and intention. Look at your past. What moments made you feel most alive? What problems are you passionate about solving? What kind of people energize you? What activities make you lose track of time? These are all clues pointing you toward purpose. It's not always a lightning bolt. It's often a slow, unfolding realization that's been there all along, waiting for your attention. Once you begin identifying your purpose, decision-making becomes radically simpler. You gain a filtering system. You no longer say yes to everything. You say yes to what fits your mission. You stop chasing opportunities out of fear and start pursuing them from alignment. This eliminates distraction and boosts momentum. It gives you a sense of direction that feels natural, not forced. That's the power of clarity. When your purpose is clear, it becomes your internal compass. It guides your behavior, your focus, and your commitment. It anchors you in storms and humbles you in success. Purpose is what allows you to persist when motivation fades. It's what keeps you grounded when things get chaotic. And the clearer your purpose, the more resilient and resourceful you become, because you're not just working towards something, you're working from something deep within. It's important to remember that clarity doesn't always mean certainty. You may not have every detail figured out, and that's okay. Purpose is more about direction than destination. It gives you a true north, a standard for decision making, a reason to keep going. Even when your goals shift, your core purpose can remain the same. In fact, the most successful people often refine their goals over time. but their purpose stays consistent and clear. Start with clarity, because it's not just the first step, it's the foundation for everything that follows. Goals without purpose are just noise, but when your actions are driven by meaning, your life begins to harmonize. You become focused, fulfilled, and unstoppable. Not because you're chasing the world's idea of success, but because you've defined your own. That's where your power truly begins.
Once you're clear on your purpose, the next critical step is to define your values, because your values are what give that purpose direction. Think of your purpose as your destination, and your values as the compass that guides your path. They help you navigate decisions, evaluate opportunities, and stay on course even when things get tough. When your goals are aligned with your values, you not only move faster, you move with integrity, clarity, and confidence. Your values are the things you believe matter most in life. They're not goals you set, they're principles you live by. For some people, it's freedom. For others, it's growth, integrity, contribution, faith, or creativity. The key is that your values must be authentic to you, not inherited, not assumed, and not borrowed from someone else's idea of a good life. When your goals contradict your values, you create internal conflict. But when your goals express your values, everything flows. The problem is, many people never take time to define their values. They chase achievement, but not alignment. They aim for success, but feel disconnected once they get there. That's because they've been building a life around metrics, not meaning. So how do you fix that? Start by getting brutally honest with yourself. Ask, what do I stand for? What principles am I willing to protect, even if it costs me something? What energizes me and what drains me? These questions reveal your true north. Once you've identified your core values, the next step is to turn them into daily direction. Let's say one of your values is growth. Then your goals should involve challenge, learning, and expansion. If you value contribution, then your work should feel like it matters to someone beyond yourself. If you value freedom, your path should include flexibility, autonomy, or entrepreneurial freedom. You don't just live your values on paper, you live them through your priorities, your calendar, and your commitment. Turning values into direction also means you have a consistent decision-making framework. You stop chasing more and start chasing what matters. This helps you eliminate distractions and say no to things that don't serve your purpose, even if they look appealing. When you know your values, you don't have to overthink every decision. You simply ask, does this align? Does this honor who I am and who I want to become? That kind of clarity saves energy and amplifies progress. Another powerful shift happens when you align your goals with your values. You stop needing external validation. You no longer need everyone to agree with your path, because your path makes sense to you. That's a level of inner peace most people never reach, because they've spent their lives trying to impress instead of align. But when your goals reflect your values, you don't need applause. The work itself becomes the reward. You're living in integrity, and that's worth more than any recognition. It's also important to understand that your values are your anchor in moments of challenge. When adversity strikes, and it will, it's your values that will keep you standing. A goal that's only built for performance will collapse under pressure. But a goal that's built on principle will hold its ground. Why? Because it wasn't based on ego, it was based on identity. You don't give up on a goal that reflects who you are. You fight for it, grow through it, and ultimately, you become better because of it. So turn your values into your direction. Don't just talk about what matters. Live it, plan around it, and build from it. When your goals are structured around your values, you create a life of alignment, not just achievement. You wake up with clarity, take action with confidence, and move forward with a deep sense of meaning. And when that happens, your progress doesn't just move you forward, it lifts you up. Once you've defined your purpose and grounded yourself in your values, the next step is where transformation really begins. aligning your daily actions with your long-term meaning. This is where vision becomes reality, not in a burst of motivation, but in the quiet, consistent decisions you make every single day. Most people overestimate what they can do in a week and underestimate what they can accomplish in a year. Why? Because they set big goals without anchoring them to daily behavior. Your life doesn't change in grand dramatic moments. It changes in the small, repeated choices you make behind the scenes. The phone call you choose to make, the book you decide to read, the workout you complete, the conversation you have with yourself in the mirror. These daily actions might seem insignificant in the moment, but they are the bricks that build the house of your future. When your daily habits reflect your higher purpose, momentum takes over, and progress becomes natural. Alignment is not about doing more, it's about doing what matters. Most people are caught in a cycle of busy work, mistaking activity for achievement. They check off to-do lists, but move no closer to their meaningful goals. The secret isn't in adding tasks, it's in filtering them. Ask yourself, is this action aligned with my purpose? Does this move me closer to the person I want to become? When the answer is yes, that task becomes powerful, even if it's small. This is where structure becomes your best friend. A clear purpose needs a clear plan. If you value growth, where is growth scheduled in your week? If you value contribution, when are you giving back? If you're chasing a big goal, what are the daily reps that keep you moving forward? Most people don't fail from lack of ambition. They fail from lack of structure. Without a system that connects your vision to your routine, even the strongest intentions will fade. Aligning your daily actions with long-term meaning also means eliminating what doesn't serve you. That might mean reducing distractions, saying no more often, or cutting out habits that pull you in the wrong direction. Every yes is a no to something else. You have to protect your time and energy like a precious resource. Because you're either feeding your purpose or feeding your procrastination. There is no neutral. One of the most powerful things you can do is design your environment to support your alignment. What do you see when you wake up? What's on your calendar? Who do you talk to most? Your environment should make the right actions easier and the wrong ones harder. Create visual reminders of your goals. Keep your workspace focused. Eliminate temptation before willpower is even needed. When your surroundings reflect your standards, following through becomes second nature. Another critical component is tracking and reviewing your actions. At the end of each day or week, ask yourself, did my actions today reflect my purpose? You don't need perfection, you need alignment. Were you intentional or were you reactive? Did you grow, give, or make meaningful progress? These moments of reflection keep you from drifting and help you course correct before you fall too far off track. Growth is not about being flawless, it's about being aware and adjusting. So remember this, big goals are built on small wins, and those small wins are built on meaningful, intentional action. When your daily choices reflect your long-term purpose, you become unstoppable. Your life begins to reflect your values, your vision, and your voice. And that kind of alignment isn't just productive, it's powerful. Achievement is a powerful motivator, but impact is a deeper one. Most people set goals based on what they want to get. A promotion, a title, a certain income level, or recognition. And while those things can be rewarding, they often fade quickly. The thrill of achievement is temporary. But when your goal is to make a difference, to add value, to elevate others, now you've entered a level of motivation that's sustainable, inspiring, and far more meaningful. When you shift your focus from personal gain to positive impact, your goals take on a higher purpose. You're no longer just working to prove yourself, you're working to improve the lives of others. Whether you're leading a team, building a business, raising a family, or creating art, the question becomes, how is what I'm doing making life better for someone else? That question sharpens your thinking, raises your standards, and multiplies your motivation. Impact gives your goals soul. Focusing on impact doesn't mean you ignore achievement. It means achievement becomes the byproduct, not the destination. When your mission is to serve, help, build, or lead, the rewards will follow. But more importantly, your journey becomes more enjoyable and more resilient. Because even when the recognition doesn't come, or the results are slower than expected, your work still matters. It still means something. And that sense of significance keeps you moving forward. One of the greatest truths in life is this: the more people you help, the more successful you become. It's not just about numbers, it's about depth. If your work solves a problem, fills a need, or uplifts someone's life, you're already making impact. And impact multiplies. One act of service, one kind word, one meaningful piece of work can ripple out in ways you'll never fully see. That's the beauty of living beyond yourself. You start building a legacy while you're still alive. When impact becomes the target, you start measuring success differently. You stop asking, "What did I get?" and start asking, "What did I get?" You measure your day by the value you created, the people you helped, the growth you experienced, not just the boxes you checked. That mindset shift takes you from success to significance. And in the long run, significance lasts longer and feels deeper than any isolated achievement ever could. This also changes how you view challenges. If your only goal is achievement, obstacles feel like threats to your ego. But if your goal is impact, those same obstacles become opportunities for innovation, for resilience, and for leadership. You push through not just for yourself, but for the people counting on you. You show up with more strength because your purpose is greater than your discomfort. That's the kind of grit that can't be faked. It comes from serving something bigger than you. Let's be clear, impact doesn't require a stage or a spotlight. It starts with how you show up in small moments. It's in the encouragement you give a teammate, the patience you show your child, the excellence you bring to your craft, even when no one is watching. Don't underestimate the power of these seemingly small choices. You never know how far your influence travels when it's rooted in purpose. So redefine success for yourself. Don't just chase achievement, ask yourself, how can I create something today that leaves others better than I found them? That question will reshape your goals, your energy, and your entire way of working. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about what you reach, it's about who you reach along the way. In a world obsessed with urgency, deadlines, and performance metrics, it's easy to fall into the trap of evaluating your progress based on external pressure. Are you keeping up? Are you doing enough? Are you ahead or behind? But when you measure yourself through pressure, you lose perspective. You stop asking the deeper, more important question, am I aligned with my purpose? Because at the end of the day, progress is not just about speed, it's about direction. When pressure becomes your primary measurement tool, you start defining your success by other people's timeline. You compare your path to someone else's highlight reel and forget that you have your own unique mission. This leads to anxiety, frustration, and burnout. You feel like you're always behind, even when you're moving forward. That's the cost of pressure-based thinking. It forces you into survival mode rather than growth mode. But when you switch to purpose-based evaluation, everything changes. Evaluating your progress through purpose means looking at your growth in terms of alignment, not just output. You ask, did my actions this week reflect who I want to become? Am I living out my values? Is my work connected to something meaningful? Even if the results aren't immediate, the process becomes fulfilling. Because you know you're on the right track, not just chasing results, but building a life that matters. This kind of reflection brings clarity to your journey. It allows you to see what's working, what's not, and why. You stop reacting and start refining. You stop judging yourself and start adjusting your path. And you realize that progress isn't always visible. It's often internal. The confidence you're building, the discipline you're developing, the clarity you're gaining. These are forms of growth that pressure never teaches you to celebrate, but purpose does. Purpose-based evaluation also gives you permission to be human. You understand that setbacks are part of the process, not signs of failure. You don't beat yourself up for every misstep. You learn from them. You recognize that growth is not linear. Sometimes pausing, reflecting, or even pivoting is the most productive thing you can do. That kind of maturity doesn't come from pressure. It comes from purpose. Because when you're rooted in purpose, you don't just chase outcomes, you build wisdom. Another benefit of this mindset is that it protects your mental and emotional energy. Pressure wears you down over time, especially if it comes from unrealistic expectations or a need to prove yourself. But purpose builds you up. It becomes a source of internal motivation that isn't tied to perfection. You start showing up out of inspiration, not fear, and that shift changes everything: your energy, your focus, and your overall well-being. To evaluate your progress through purpose, create regular checkpoints, weekly reflections, monthly reviews. Ask yourself, what did I learn? What aligned with my values? Where did I drift from my mission? And how can I get back on track? These moments of honest assessment give you the power to course correct before small misalignments become major detours. And over time, they build a self-awareness that's far more valuable than any productivity app or performance report. So don't measure your journey by pressure. Measure it by purpose. It's not about how much you did, but about how deeply it mattered. It's not about meeting arbitrary deadlines, but about making meaningful strides. Let your purpose be the standard you rise to, not the pressure you run from. Because when you evaluate your progress through that lens, you move forward with peace, power, and perspective. One of the most transformative shifts you can make in your life is to start building goals that serve others, not just yourself. Most people begin the goal-setting process by asking, what do I want? That's not a bad question. It's a necessary one. But if you stop there, you limit your impact and your sense of fulfillment. A more powerful question is, who will benefit if I succeed? Because the greatest goals are not just self-serving, they are other-serving. When your goals are designed to lift others, you tap into a deeper level of energy, resilience, and meaning. You wake up with purpose because your success has a ripple effect. Your actions matter, not just to your bank account or your resume, but to the lives around you. Whether it's your family, your team, your clients, your community, or even people you'll never meet. Your growth becomes a gift, and that's the kind of motivation that lasts longer than any paycheck or title. This doesn't mean you ignore your own needs, dreams, or desires. In fact, it's the opposite. When you grow, you expand your capacity to give. When you thrive, you're better equipped to serve. It's not selflessness or selfishness. It's alignment. You build yourself up so you can build others up. You pursue your goals with excellence, knowing that every skill you master, every result you achieve, and every milestone you reach becomes a tool to help someone else do the same. The most admired leaders, entrepreneurs, and change makers in the world all share one trait. They built something that mattered beyond their own success. They solved real problems. They met real needs. They left people better than they found them. And you don't need a platform, a title, or a huge following to do the same. You can build goals that serve others right where you are, with your time, your talent, and your story. Start asking yourself different questions as you set your goals. Not just, what do I want to have, but who do I want to help? What problem do I want to solve? What legacy do I want to leave? These questions pull you out of survival mode and into significance. They help you aim higher, not just for what's impressive, but for what's impactful. They help you craft a life that feels full, not just busy. When your goals serve others, your vision becomes contagious. People want to help you, support you, join you, because they sense that what you're building isn't just for you. It's bigger than one person. And that kind of energy attracts opportunity. It builds connection. It turns your mission into a movement. That's the power of purpose with people at the center. There's also a deep joy that comes from watching someone else succeed because of something you started. Whether it's mentoring someone, inspiring them, providing a solution, or simply showing them what's possible, you become a catalyst. You multiply impact, and over time, that kind of contribution becomes more rewarding than anything you achieve for yourself. Because you've created something that outlives you. You've planted seeds that will grow long after you're gone. So yes, dream big, set ambitious goals, strive for greatness, but as you do, make sure your goals aren't just about accumulation. They're about contribution. Because when your goals serve others, your success becomes more than personal. It becomes purposeful. And that kind of success is the kind worth chasing every single day. Discipline is often misunderstood. People think of it as cold, rigid, or even painful, something you have to force yourself into, like a chore. But discipline, when fueled by purpose, becomes something else entirely. It becomes devotion. It transforms from something you have to do into something you want to do. Why? Because when your actions are connected to something meaningful, they become sacred. Purpose breathes life into effort. Without purpose, discipline feels like drudgery. You're just following routines, checking boxes, and pushing through resistance with sheer willpower. That can work in the short term, but it rarely lasts. You burn out, you break down. But when you're deeply connected to why you're doing it, the same actions feel different. Waking up early, showing up prepared, pushing yourself to grow. Those things stop being burdens. They become expressions of your commitment to something that matters. Purpose makes discipline easier, not because the work is lighter, but because your heart is heavier with meaning. You're not just writing emails, making sales, studying notes, or hitting the gym. You're building a future. You're honoring your values. You're fighting for a vision. That's what turns ordinary habits into meaningful rituals. You're no longer driven just by goals. You're driven by identity. You're living in alignment with who you truly want to be. Every time you act in line with your purpose, you strengthen your self-image. You begin to see yourself not just as someone who tries to be disciplined, but as someone who is devoted to a calling. And that shift is powerful, because your behavior flows naturally from your identity. The more you see yourself as a purposeful person, the less you need to push yourself. The pull becomes stronger. You start acting with intention, not just obligation. Purpose also brings clarity to your choices. When you know what you're devoted to, distractions lose their appeal. You're not easily swayed by temporary pleasures or meaningless noise. You don't need to chase every shiny object or jump on every trend. You're anchored. You can say no to what doesn't matter because you've already said yes to what does. That's what devotion looks like. Clarity in the face of chaos, consistency in the face of comfort. And let's not forget, devotion carries emotional energy that discipline alone cannot sustain. Devotion carries love, pride, gratitude, and even joy. Think of the parent who wakes up early to provide for their children, the artist who spends late nights crafting something that will touch lives, the leader who keeps going through resistance, because their vision isn't about them, it's about everyone they serve. These people don't just have strong discipline, they have deep devotion, and it shows. When you commit to purpose-driven discipline, your efforts compound. One day of discipline is good, 1 week is better, but a year of devotion to your purpose, that's transformational. You build character, you create momentum, you become the kind of person people trust, admire, and follow, not because you're perfect, but because you're consistent, and that consistency, rooted in meaning, becomes unstoppable. So the next time discipline feels hard, ask yourself, what am I truly devoted to? Reconnect with your purpose. Reignite your why, because when purpose fuels your effort, you don't just get more done, you become more alive while doing it. And in that aliveness, your habits evolve into rituals, your goals evolve into missions, and your discipline evolves into devotion. Every goal you set and every milestone you reach may one day fade from memory, but the purpose behind them can echo far beyond your lifetime. That's the true power of purpose. It creates ripples that extend long after the finish line is crossed. While a goal can deliver results, purpose delivers a legacy, and legacies are not measured by what you accumulate, they are measured by the difference you make and the values you leave behind. Many people chase goals without stopping to ask what will remain after the goal is met. They might build a business, gain wealth, or earn recognition. But when those goals are reached, the question becomes, what did this all stand for? Purpose is what answers that question. It adds depth to your achievements and makes your efforts timeless. It transforms your work from temporary success into something that lives on in others, in ideas and actions. When your life is anchored in purpose, you start thinking long-term, not just in terms of years, but in terms of impact. You begin asking yourself, what will this work say about me when I'm no longer here? That question doesn't come from ego, it comes from responsibility, from a desire to live intentionally, to pass on wisdom, and to create something that continues to serve even when you're no longer the one leading it. This mindset leads to a shift in how you build. You stop aiming for short-term wins and start building with future generations in mind. You document your principles, you mentor others, you share your experiences, you design systems that can outlast your involvement, and as you do, your work becomes a vessel for something greater than yourself. It becomes a vehicle for your value. That is the essence of legacy, values that endure through actions that remain. Even small acts of purpose can become legacy moments. A teacher who believes in a student and changes their life. A parent who models integrity and raises a child to do the same. An entrepreneur who creates a product that improves lives, not just bottom lines. These contributions might not make headlines, but they shape lives, and lives shaped by purpose continue shaping others. Legacy doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, but it never stops echoing. Purpose also makes you more courageous. When you know your work is about more than yourself, you're willing to endure more, risk more, and stretch more. You stop holding back because you know what's at stake. You understand that your contribution could inspire someone else to find their purpose. You're not just setting goals, you're creating a standard. You're showing what's possible when a person commits fully to meaning over convenience. And here's something truly profound. Legacy isn't just something you leave behind. It's something you live into every day. It's in the way you show up, how you treat people, the integrity you uphold, and the purpose you carry. You don't have to wait until the end of your career or your life to build legacy. You're building it now in every action, every decision, every moment of intention. It's not a finish line, it's a way of being. So don't just chase goals. Let your goals be servants of something bigger. Let them be stepping stones toward a life that stands for something. Because when your goals are guided by purpose, you don't just achieve, you impact. You don't just succeed, you inspire. And that kind of life leaves behind more than memories. It leaves behind meaning. As we come to the end of this journey together, remember this. Your goals are not just about what you can achieve. They are about who you can become and how many lives you can touch along the way. The real success in life is not measured in numbers, trophies, or applause. It's measured in meaning, in alignment, in the quiet, consistent way you live your truth and bring value to the world. When your goals are connected to your purpose, you gain access to an inner power that no obstacle can diminish. You no longer need to chase motivation. It flows naturally from your mission. You don't rely on pressure, you rely on principle. And each step forward becomes not just progress, but proof that you are becoming the person you were meant to be. You are the architect of your vision, you are the steward of your gift, and you are capable of building something so much greater than yourself when you lead with clarity, serve with intention, and act with courage. So I challenge you, don't just set goals that matter, align them with your values, tie them to a mission larger than personal gain, because when you do, you'll not only reach the destination, you'll inspire others along the way, and in doing so, you won't just make a living, you'll make a difference. Your life is your message, make it count.